بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Today we have a very nice announcement to make to everybody, but I'll leave Sami Kadovic to do that since he's been the one making all these special announcements regarding all the different things that are going on. And we will get going on our community update. All right, today we're going to look at one of the most important du'as that the Prophet ﷺ has given us, and it's reported in Ibn Hibban. And this du'a says, is about when faced with difficulties. This du'a says, Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahla, wa anta taj'alul hazna idha shi'ta sahlan sahla. This du'a says, oh Allah, there is nothing easy except what you make easy. لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا سهلا, and you can make difficulties if you wish easy. All right, so let's take a look at the words here. That there's many people think that this word is al-huzn, but it's not. It's al-hazn. Al-huzn or al-huzn with a dhamma, huzn, is different from hazn. Huzn means sadness, right? And sadness for us, we have two views towards sadness. That sadness overall is never mentioned in the Quran except in a negative connotation. It's always given a negative light. All right. Sadness in the Quran, it stops a believer from doing righteous works. So that type of sadness is always discussed in the Quran as one of the aims of Iblis. It's Iblis and Shaitan that tries to make you sad, because sadness is something that, number one, it tends to be rooted in something that you perceive as real, right? So there's no lie about it. But secondly, one of the things that it does to people is it makes them stop action, right? It makes them stop work. Now, the thing that removes sadness, and this is what we said in the Hikam class on Sunday, and I know that some people took notes on this, is that the thing that removes sadness is something called tamanni, right? Tamanni is having nice thoughts about things that you would love, that are almost like fanciful. And tamanni is a type of long, I wouldn't say abnormal, but it's a fanciful desire as opposed to a hopeful desire. So it's something that you want that you wouldn't ever act for. Okay, it's something that it's just in your imagination. It's not something that you would take action for. Okay. Al-raja, in contrast, is a hope that you would take action for, right? It's a hope that you would say, okay, well, I really want this. Like, hold on, we have no audio this whole time? Oh, boy. All right, can everyone hear? Is it more clear now? All right, good. So it looks like basically some of you said there is audio, so we don't have to repeat everything, hopefully. So I think the audio is better now, right? Just let me know in the comments if the audio is even better, because I just plugged in this mic instead of using the computer mic. I hadn't had it plugged in. There's always got to be something, you know that. All right, so let's pick up where we left off. Alhamdulillah, we don't have to actually repeat anything. But al-huzn, sadness, is something that is a negative thing, right? And the opposite, the exceptions, there are exceptions to the huzn that is considered good, all right? Some huzn is considered good, right? And that huzn
is the huzn about the shortness of one's deeds, like the weakness of one's deeds, like that your deeds they're not good enough, and I feel that Allah has given me so much and I've done so little and I've done so much wrong. So that type of huzn, okay, that's a good huzn, because that sadness actually motivates you. So really, the difference between good sadness and bad sadness is, does it move me to action or does it not? Okay, so huzn, sadness over the dunya, sadness over how bad things are, all of those are bad. They're not good. Okay, and the sadness that is good is the sadness that, oh, life is so brief, that I haven't done enough, that Allah has given me so much and I've given Him so little, that, or lamenting all the good times that one had in the worship of Allah Ta'ala, and thinking about, oh, my Hajj, my Ramadan, all the times that I was doing this and that type of sad lamentation about the parted loved one. That's all fine, because that doesn't depress a person. So the sadness that is from Iblis, and that Ibn Qayyim, he talks at length about this, and he says that uh, the sadness that Shaitan wants to get a mu'min at is that which will make him sit down on his couch, close the door, be depressed, and not want to do any action. That's where Shaitan wants people at. And this is one of the reasons that he wants to sow fitna between people, because fitna makes people depressed. It makes people look, just like after World War I and World War II, all the European philosophers and all the people said, my gosh, we're horrible. Look what we did to each other, right? And almost had this type of depression. Okay. So fitna, argumentation between Muslims, is forbidden. Feud between Muslims is forbidden. Why? Because the result of it is going to leave both parties. They're going to look and say, what have we done? And they're going to be so down about what they've lost. Okay. And that all the time that they've wasted killing each other, fighting with each other, and the wars of words. And so our what we've been taught and what we have to try to stick to, there shall never be a feud between you and another Muslim. Do not ever have this civil war. And that's civil war, even if it's with words, right? Even if it's with the tweets and messages back and forth. Just bow out. What do you have to gain? You think is there risk in their hands? Your risk is in the hands of Allah. Is it your honor? Leave it to them, right? What is it? Don't ever enter these feuds. It's one of the honey traps of Iblis. It looks good. It's oftentimes dressed up in commanding right and forbidding wrong. All right. And in reality, it's a trap. They get you into it. And ultimately you fight for a long time. And in that time of having a civil war, well, your real enemies are free to gain and grow and get better and get stronger. Okay. And eat away at you while you're having a civil war. And this is why Sayyidina Ali, he stopped the civil war, even though he had the right to continue. And in fact, the Sharia actually says he may even say he's obligated to continue, but he realized that such an obligation, if it's going to conclude with a worse conclusion than if it's going to end with the worst conclusion, all right, then you shouldn't do it at all. So what was Sayyidina Ali's civil war is that when the Syrians, the group in Syria, they refused to take a bay'ah with him. They refused to to give him the oath of allegiance. Now Sharia says you can't do that. That's you're seceding from the ummah. So you have to go and fight them and force them back into the ummah. All right. And so Sayyidina Ali, he did that. But when he realized it's getting too long, this war is going on too long, and we have other enemies, and we're killing each other. So as soon as they said, okay, we'll stop and let's talk instead, he stopped. Right. And when the talks collapsed, he said, all right, they agreed, let's meet after 1 year. And he agreed to that. He agreed to everything that would involve not having to kill one another, not having to have a civil war. If you're a Muslim out there, if you're part of a community, there's a lot of blessings in being part of a community, but there are a lot of challenges we have to keep our head up. And those challenges is that when you have a nice, warm community, tight community, you see each other all the time, sometimes a lot of seeing each other can cause, loss of perspective on the blessing of being with other Muslims, and it could cause feuds. and it could cause one Muslim to start hating another Muslim. And he forgets that this is your ally, right? Even if his nature is different, he's a little bit annoying, you need him, right? Without Muslims, without each other, as the Prophet ﷺ said, the Muslims are one body. They're like a building, okay? They support one another, all right? And so without that, you're now open. You put yourself open, like the Prophet ﷺ said, like the lone sheep. So you need your numbers. But there's the test that you should not enter into fitna with your numbers. So a discord amongst one another. And the only key to this, you might ask yourself, okay, I don't want to get into fitna, but how do I not get into fitna? Very simple answer to this. Okay. The simple answer to this is don't compete over dunya. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, the thing that will cause the Muslims to fight one another and be at each other's throats and have a civil war is that they will fight over matters of the dunya. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. They're going to fight over the dunya. So don't fight over the dunya, right? That's the only solution. It's whatever people are you fighting for attention? For kids, it's okay, who's cool and who's not. That's what they fight over. As they grow older, they'll fight over jobs or marriages or people or popularity or wealth or power. There's always something. It starts off with who's cool and who's not cool, right? Some silly thing. Then it goes on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then it becomes popularity, influence, wealth, power, right? And that's usually in that order. And so if you learn from the beginning to identify, hey, I actually hate this guy because I'm competing against him, right? And we're competing against each other for some issues of the dunya, right? For some matters of the dunya. At that point, you have to recognize that and tell yourself, hold up, stop right there, stop competing for it. Let him have what he wants to have, right? Don't compete with another, not that competition for the dunya. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. There's healthy competition in good things, but competition for dunya, low things, is what causes feuds. Feuds lead to sadness. All right. The end of feuds for both sides is sadness and grief. That's a guarantee. The next thing is that we have to look at the opposite now term is al-hazn, hazn, or with a fatha, and that is difficulty, hardship and difficulty. Okay. Now, the question now is, how is it that Allah Ta'ala makes hardship and difficulty easy? All right. Simple. Allah Ta'ala makes hardship and difficulty easy upon us by showing us the wisdoms behind it. And that's one of the rewards of Iman, the reward of submission to Allah and accepting His will. Okay, this challenge is in front of me. I accept it. What's the reward of that? The reward is if you have sabr and you have patience, that Allah Ta'ala will show you the wisdom behind this hardship. Just because something doesn't feel good doesn't mean it doesn't have a good wisdom. I mean, nobody who lifts weights, it feels good. If you tell them, hey, would you rather lift weights and be big, right? And look the way you look? Or would you rather sit on a sofa, eat a meatball sandwich, and still look the same way? Everyone's going to choose the latter, right? No skinny person who runs every day and doesn't eat carbs and doesn't eat sugars and sacrifices and sleeps on an empty stomach enjoys that. Okay. Tell them, hey, you can eat ice cream and be skinny. Yeah, everyone will choose that. But people, so no one wants, so hardships in general, no one wants these things. But when it's connected to something good, then everyone all of a sudden loves it. And you see all these people, they love their vegan diets. They love going to the gym. They love the smell of the gym. All right. They love running in the fresh air. They've learned to love it. Why? Because it's connected to something good. So once you start to learn and say to yourself, hold on, what is this connected to? This must be connected to something good. Now you start to appreciate the hardship and it becomes easy. It becomes easy because you're looking now at your eye is no longer on the hardship. Your eye is on the result. And that's why when they have these anything challenging, they always put pictures of the result, right? Like sports clubs, they put pictures of the championship. So all the struggle on the way, you don't want to look at the struggle, look at the championship. This is why the Quran gives us all of the ranks of the prophets in paradise, the ranks of the awliya, tells us the karamat of the awliya, all of these things so that our eye can be on the awliya and not on the difficult journey that lays ahead of us. Imagine if someone said, okay, you're going to fast, you're going to do this, you're going to have sabr, you're going to have patience with hardships. Okay, but they never tell you what's the reward. Then you know to want to do it. But if you put the reward and you keep just look at the reward, right, and follow that reward, you'll follow it for 1,000 miles until you get it without the feeling of hardship, without realizing how much hardship that you passed. Right. So that's the wisdom of this dua. Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altahu sahla wa anta taj'alul hazna idha shi'ta sahlan sahla. There was a man by the name of Hazn, hardship, a difficulty, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam changed his name. Bal anta sahl. You're easy. You're sahl. And the man, he made a big mistake. He said, "There, I will not change a name. I cannot change a name that my father named me." Right? I mean, how could you say that to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What are you thinking to say that to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Okay, who's more important, your father or the messenger? Okay, what did your father do for you? He brought you into this world. Wonderful. You're in this world. You could be guided or misguided. You could go to heaven or hell. But what does the Prophet ﷺ do for you? He guarantees that closing the door of hell if you follow him, right, properly, and entering Jannah. So which one? Your father gave you this life, which is temporary. Prophet ﷺ has given you the akhirah, which is permanent. So who's superior to whom here? Prophet ﷺ is superior to your own parents. He's superior in our within us to our own selves. Okay, and Nabiyyu awla bil mu'minina min anfusihim. So therefore, that man made a bad choice. Now his grandson was the great scholar Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib, and he said, "Ma zalat al-huzunatu fina." Right, ila yawmina hada. He said the difficulty and personality remained in us. We were difficult people, right? It stayed in us. If their grandfather had listened to the Prophet ﷺ, that wouldn't have been the case, right? It wouldn't have been so. All right. So this amazing dua is something else. Now, there's something I want to point out. As-sahl is that which is easygoing, and one of the synonyms for it is al-yusr, ease. Now, many people ask about istikhara. How am I supposed to know exactly if my istikhara is answered or not? Right? Or istikhara is a salah that's followed by a dua that everyone makes when there is some hardship, and I need to actually, it's a challenge, and I need to help clear my mind. It's a big decision. So what do? You pray istikhara, even whether you've made the choice or not. Okay, you make istikhara on the choice that you are leaning towards, and you ask Allah Ta'ala, if it's the right choice, make it easy. If it's the wrong choice, okay, then separate between me and that choice. So many people say, okay, should I look for a dream? Should I look for a sign? So, but what do you think? The sign is in the dua that you made. What do we make dua for? Allahumma in kana hadha khayrun li fi dini wa dunya. If this matter is good for me in the deen or in my dunya, fayassirhu li, right? Make it easy for me. So wait a second. That's the sign. So the sign of istikhara is al-yusr, because it's in the dua. Oh Allah, if this is what you choose for me, if this is what's good for me, deen, dunya, my future, my past, my near future and far future, my dunya and my akhirah, fi dini wa dunyaya, right, and everything else, make it easy for me. So al-yusr. Now you start seeing this path. It now has roadblocks. It now has challenges. It now has another challenge. And I can't get through these challenges. And it's now become a big cluster fudge. So at that point, you know that there's no yusr, that Allah has made it difficult for you. So you step away from it. In contrast, another one, every time a challenge comes up, you just tap and the door opens up. Another challenge, you knock twice, you push it, all right, door opens up. And all of a sudden, the door opens up like a floodgate. Now, what do we call that? Al-yusr. So that's how you know that something is destined for you. That's something that you should do. Okay. So before we go, we're going to go now to the live chat. We got some time to go to live chat, but first, before I get to Zaim Chowdhury's question and anyone else who wants to type in a comment or question, we do have an important announcement, and that announcement relates to Salat al-Jumu'ah. So let's admit Sami Kadovic in here, and let's hear what Sami has to say. Here we go. Is camera on? Inshallah, he'll turn his camera on right now. Bismillah. Hubba. All right, there we go. Okay, is camera on?
Camera's on. Assalamu alaikum.
All right, here we go. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah.
Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Just to be with you all here this evening. Got an amazing announcement. Alhamdulillah. Beautiful announcement, inshallah ta'ala. Some of you may have seen the email message. But inshallah ta'ala, we will be beginning Salat al-Jum'ah this Friday. And we're going to do it in the park. And so this Jummah will be in Community Park in North Brunswick. This is off Route 130. And this is in order to facilitate as many worshipers as possible, as well as to do it in the most safe way as possible. And so inshallah ta'ala, everybody can join us. We're going to have 2 Jummah prayers. The first will be at 1 o'clock. The second will be at 2:15. You have to wear a mask pursuant to government regulation and for the safety of the community. And you will, when you proceed there, inshallah, you'll be instructed to sit, make sure that we're socially distancing as well too, which is also for the safety of the community as well as legal requirement for that. We're requesting that those who are under the age of 14 and those over the age of 65 to not attend due to the the nature of the COVID virus. Also, if you're sick, obviously, or feel sick in any shape or form, do not attend as well. So we don't have, risk exposing somebody to some sort of sickness or illness. So please do that as well. Also, there will be no bathroom facilities. So you have to come with wudu. The khutbah and the salat will be short. So make sure you're there by 1 o'clock. We will start, inshallah, hopefully promptly at 1. And maybe by like 1:15, we should be done with the salat and the khutbah. So make sure and then we'll begin 2:15 will be the next Jama'ah for that. Follow all the parking instructions as well. And inshallah ta'ala, we'll have a safe event, but we just want to make sure that we are, all following the instructions accordingly, and we shouldn't have difficulty for that. So that will be this Friday. It may be a little hot. We're going to be in an open field. So if you would like to have some sort of head covering, obviously for brothers, I guess sisters already come with head covering, but some sort of umbrella or something if you need. You shouldn't be in the sun too long, but you may be in the sun for a short time. And so if you have a difficulty with that, please make sure you're prepared accordingly. Also bring your own prayer mat. That you'll pray on. Otherwise, you'll be praying just on the open grass in the spot that you're assigned for that. And so, inshallah ta'ala, make sure you maintain all the rules, socially distance accordingly. And inshallah, we should have a successful Jummah. And we're going to proceed. And depending on how things proceed with this, we'll let you know how we'll be proceeding for the summer. But please just make sure you cooperate and coordinate. And inshallah ta'ala, we'll be having this opportunity to be with having Salatul Jummah this Friday for the summer. So 1 o'clock, 2:15, Community Park in North Brunswick. Jummah will not be held at MBIC. It will be in the park, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakallah khairan. We look forward to seeing you all. And please remember everybody in your dua. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thank you very much. And there you have it. So the announcement was that we do have Jummah this week. It is at the park. And of course, you know that from the conditions of Jummah is that they be in a masjid. However, that's all if it's possible. And of course, it's really not possible to do that without harming anyone. So therefore, as a result, we will have it at Community Park. It's a beautiful park. It's a very simple park to navigate. It's not one of those parks that's like so big that you can't find where anyone is. It's pretty easy. And there will be little flags, and everyone will take their rug and pray next to one of those little flags. There will be 200 little flags spread far and wide, and you'll just pray there with your mask and listen to the khutbah, and there will be speakers and everything. And we were just at the park the other day for Dhikr night. It's a beautiful park. It's open skies and no wires, no telephone wires or anything. So, all right, let's hit up the live chat. The Ummah most of the time fights Aqidah and fiqh issues, and they start wars amongst themselves. How do we categorize that? I would categorize it as something that we will all regret. I think, personally speaking, we'll regret those things. Clarify your position and move on. Allah Ta'ala is watching. He's the Lord of all the Muslims. Clarify your position. You don't like a position, clarify it without the intent to hurt the other person. You don't know that other person. Allah he may be beloved in the sight of Allah, and he may change. Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab, is he not one of the most beloved of the Sahaba? Did not the Prophet ﷺ say the best man upon whom the sun rises, Umar ibn Khattab? In other words, like his service to the Ummah is very much like the sun's service to the earth. Okay, what Sayyidina Umar does for the Ummah. Did not the Prophet ﷺ said, if there was a prophet after me, it would be Umar, because of his great service, what he does for the Ummah. Okay. But that same Umar was an alcoholic pagan at one point who hated the Prophet ﷺ and wanted to kill him. So the person you're looking at today, you think he's so evil because some bad thing is coming out of him at that moment. It's not necessarily the case, right, that's going to be his end. So be careful of who you're talking to, no matter how bad the person's saying whatever they're saying, right? And I'm not saying that you're not going to say anything, and I'm not saying that you're going to be all lovey-dovey and that you're not going to keep a distance. No, we're going to do all that. But with in the back of our mind, that may be the temporary state of that person. And we should have do a type of tawajjuh on the person, or focus upon the person that would move him through dua to another state. And that's really the prophetic way. That's the prophetic way. Most of us, me included, we only go halfway. We see something bad coming out of a person, we start waging war on the bad and on the person. As Shafi'i said, the goal of forbidding wrong is to remove the disease, not kill the patient. And what we do oftentimes, I can blame myself first of all, I'm first one to fall into all these things, is that we forget that there's a disease and a patient. The person's bad actions is like a disease, even if they're doing it themselves. Do we want to remove the disease or kill the patient? That's what we have to ask ourselves. So just keeping that in mind will enable us to fine tune our attitudes towards people. And oftentimes it's very hard to have that balance. And most times people fall off one side or the other like a balance beam. And the one side is, let me just kill the disease and kill the patient once and for all. The other is, I don't want to upset the patient, so let me let the disease flourish, right? And let's just live with the disease. Both of them are a disservice, okay? So we have to find that middle, and it's a very hard middle. But hey, if we're not going to aspire to something, then we're not going to grow. So that's our aspiration, to reach that middle in a way that we can fight diseases, but not necessarily kill the patients, as Shafi'i put it. He's the one who gave us that analogy of the patient. And so I think that the Aqidah wars, fiqh wars, whatever, all these groups that are commanding right and forbidding wrong, I'm not saying there's no good in them. There's a lot of good in these guys, right? But we just have to tweak it. That's all. I mean, they deserve, people who are extreme and who are out there fighting each other, they also deserve the same attitude that anyone else deserves, which is they have good. They're coming up short on attaining that balance. We've come up short on attaining the balance. So they deserve that husn al-dhan as well as everybody else. And that not husn al-dhan, yeah, but also consideration, sabr. If we're talking about having sabr with people, they also deserve it. Okay. They're deserving of that. Be patient with them, and hopefully they'll change their ways. They'll grow up. They may have experiences that make them change. All right. NA says, please help. No joke. I just ate pork on accident. Is the food possibly still in my stomach? Well, if you haven't mixed it up with other food and slept and gone to the bathroom and, it's all mixed up in your system. That's one option. If it is, then there's nothing you can do about it. But if it's not, and it's sitting there in your stomach, well, go vomit it out. Okay? You have to vomit it out, actually. If you know for sure that it's right there in my stomach and it's not mixed up and getting digested, then go vomit it out. If you don't know how to vomit, then make tawbah. Say istighfar. Well, first of all, is an accident, right? So just say istighfar. You don't even need to make tawbah from accidents. That's the first thing, right? Maybe say istighfar just, because he has nothing to lose by saying istighfar, but you're not sinful. But if you can get it out of yourself, you're obligated to get it out of your system, right? Like if I have an najasa right here, I swallowed wine and it's right there, I got to actually spill it out, which actually happened to me one time at the sushi hibachi restaurant, okay? Where this guy, he flicks a mushroom in your mouth and he flicks a shrimp in your mouth. And then all of a sudden he said, open up. So boom. And it turned out to be like wine, right? I had to run to the bathroom, spit it out. My wife actually caught it. I was like, oh, it's burning my throat, right? It was coming in my throat and I was doing this. And she said, wait a second, what is that? Right? He said, sake. So she said, Chetty, go spit that out. I had to run and I spit it out, right? In the bathroom. I didn't swallow anything, but I knew what it was. I could sense what it was after a second. So be careful when you go to these hibachi thingies. Okay. Zaim Chowdhury says, another one, as we know, as Sunnis, we have two creeds. Well, yeah. Two different schools of thought on Aqidah. How about the Sanusi creed and also Athari creed as Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal? Listen, look. There are many noble Hanabila, and follow the noble Hanabila of the past. Good, that's fine. No problem, because the ones that you follow that are avoiding this tashbih and all that, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm telling you, just do your thing in theology. Spread it. I don't care who doesn't like it. Spread it. Doesn't matter if they don't like it or not. But without this attitude of warfare, right? Without this attitude of hurting the others, trust me, you're going to regret it later on in life. And you don't regret it in like a month or a week. You regret it like 5 years later. It's like, why did I waste my time trying to hurt those brothers, right? I should just give my point, have a clean heart, and move on, right? And that's how you should do it. That's how everyone should do it. All right, let's take one or two more questions and see if there are anything else left on the live chat that anyone wants to talk about. In the meantime, let me recap the announcement that Sami Kadovic just gave. Jumu'ah in the park. It's Community Park on Route 130. There's going to be two Jumu'ahs, 110 and 215. You're going to show up with your mask, with your prayer rug. There's going to be a flag, okay? And you'll pray next to one of the flags. Simple as that, right? It's a very simple process and no issues there. All right, very simple. There'll be, again, two Jumu'ahs, 110, 250. You come at 115, you find it packed, no problem. Loop around, go back home, come back at 2 o'clock. All right, looks like we are good to go. Oh, another question. SubhanAllah, that's true. We only do half the job done. It will be great if you do a halaqah on how to do the balance. That would be great. I personally lost patience thinking I need to stop him. Again, it's the root of the matter of this balance is just remember two things. Just keep in mind two things. Keep in mind that we shouldn't stop at wrongs. We have to change wrongs, okay? But also keep in mind that that person is someone who also is a Muslim, beloved by Allah Ta'ala. You never know. So assume he's beloved by Allah. If Allah guided him to Islam. So assume that. So don't hurt him. Don't have the intent to hurt the person. Just like a surgeon, he doesn't want to hurt you. He's cutting you open, but he doesn't want to hurt you. He's removing a tonsil, or he's removing an appendix. He doesn't want to hurt you. Okay. So this is the attitude we should have. If you just remember, keep in mind those two things, that's all you need. Jazakumullahu khairan. Let's close with our dua. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. A'udhu bi kalimatillahi at-tammati min sharri ma khalaq. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. تحصنت بذي العزة واعتصمت برب الملكوت وتوكلت على الحي الذي لا يموت. اللهم اصرف عنا الوباء بلطفك يا لطيف إنك على كل شيء قدير. تحصنت بذي العزة واعتصمت برب الملكوت وتوكلت على الحي الذي لا يموت. اللهم اصرف عنا الوباء بلطفك يا لطيف إنك على كل شيء قدير. تحصنت بذي العزة واعتصمت برب الملكوت وتوكلت على الحي الذي لا يموت. اللهم اصرف عنا الوباء بلطفك يا لطيف إنك على كل شيء قدير. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، والحمد لله رب العالمين، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.